Hello, welcome. Today I will be speedrunning Ending My Career, before it even starts. And the way I'll do that is by asking a simple question. Does Genshin need fear missing out? A question that will send Genshin lovers into a frenzy of rage, and let people who didn't watch the full video yell at me in the comments. But before we answer the question, I need to explain what fear missing out is and how Genshin uses it. Fear missing out, also known as Fomo, is the feeling of being left out, or as the name says, missing out on things like limited time events. Some examples of this are when your friends go out but you can't go. That feeling of wondering what they're doing, that's Fomo. Or picking between two limited time items that you can only get one of. That can also cause it. But how does Genshin use it? Well, in many ways, some big, some small. But the big three are banners, events, and Resin. These three are the things most people complain about, and are also the three things that have the biggest form of FOMO in the game. Banners and events are on a time frame, so if you don't get on those days, you won't be able to play that event or use that character for an extreme amount of time. And in the case of events, maybe even never, as some events never come back. And as for Resin, we have all experienced sleeping in and being capped on Resin. That fear of missing out on all the extra Resin is FOMO. But there's another layer to Resin. Choosing what domain or boss you're going to farm can also cause FOMO, because you are now missing out on all the other sets you could have farmed, or that character you could have leveled up with those boss materials. Resin controls how much you play, therefore Genshin's core gameplay is led by FOMO. So that leads me back to my first question. Does Genshin need fear missing out? And the answer is yes. What do you think I was going to say? No? You're smoking crack. Maybe it's a bit much, but most games use fear missing out. Any game with limited time events or a battle pass all use fear missing out. So I can't say Genshin can't use it. But I can ask a better question. Is Genshin using fear missing out to its fullest potential? And the answer to that is 100% no. For some reason, every form of fear missing out Genshin has causes some sort of pain to the players, which it doesn't have to. You can have FOMO and still keep the fanbase happy. And to prove so, I'll fix the big three, banners, events, and Resin, and still keep the FOMO aspect. I'll start with the easiest fix, events. Events are funny because Genshin has already fixed this problem, and the problem was solved since the game was released. The Abyss is a permanent event that exudes fear missing out. Don't believe me? Just listen. Although the Abyss doesn't use fear missing out like other events, it still has it in the sense of rewards. Those 600 primos you get for 36 starting the Abyss don't last forever. You need to claim them before the time is up, or you miss out on those free 3 pulls. That right there is fear missing out. The game makes you play to get those rewards, and if you don't play, you miss out on your sweet Freemo gems. Now, just think for a second. Imagine if some events, not all, just some, had the same concept. The rewards refresh every month or two, and the event stays. Or, if Hoyoverse wants to be stingy, for the initial run we have 2 weeks to get the primos, and after that, we can't. The event stays, but the rewards go away forever. Boom! You keep the event, and the FOMO stays. And just in case you think it's a bad idea, I'll give you one more way to keep events and FOMO. Patch events. Hoyoverse can release events that last a full patch. For example, an event that lasts from 2.8 to 3.0, and after the update, the event is gone, and we move on to the next event. This would make it so we have something to do when we have no events or game stuff going on, and making it last one patch can keep it fresh, as it's always changing. Although the FOMO in this is much less prominent, because you have 2 or more months to try to get the rewards before it's gone. But Genshin can always just change the event challenges every week to keep it fresh and enhance that FOMO factor. And there we go, no matter which idea you liked, it keeps the event and the FOMO. Next up, we have Resin. And if you watched this video, you would know I've already fixed this with Resin Quest. 10 daily quests that give you 20 Resin per quest. This has FOMO because if you don't do them, you miss out on that 200 extra Resin. It's basically your commissions, but with Resin instead of primos. But since I've already explained how this is beneficial in an older video, I'll make a new idea just to prove how easy it can be changed. I have 2 ideas. One is more likely than the other, and the other one is unlikely but is much better. So let's start with the more possible idea. The concept is that every week we have the opportunity to speed up the flow of Resin. Right now it's 1 every 8 minutes, or 160 every 21 hours, meaning you're only getting 1 to 6 runs of condensed Resin every day. And seeing how much domains and bosses there are, it's not a lot. But if we had an item that changed the rates to 1 every 1 minute or 160 every 2 hours 40 minutes, I think that would fix the resin problem. And of course, there needs to be limitations, like it only lasting 10 hours or 3 refreshes, and only being able to use it once a week, but as long as those limitations are added, it keeps the FOMO. If you don't use it every week, you're missing out on a lot of resin, and if you use it and you don't check in every 3 hours, you miss out on the overflowing resin. Also, it gives people a reason to play more than 30 minutes a day. And for the more unlikely idea, I want to change the whole system. I know. Like I said, it's unlikely. But let me explain first. For this concept, I want to make 3 new types of stamina to replace resin. These types are boss passes, artifact resin, and material resin, each one only being able to be used in their own designated area. The idea is that we give 4 of each passes to the player every day. So for the boss pass, you can either use it on weekly bosses or the overworld bosses. And for the material resin, you can only use it on either weapon mats or talent books. And the artifact resin is used for artifacts. Duh. But that leaves back ley lines. I think we can lower the resin to 80 and let it only be used for ley lines. But here's the problem. This can't work. Yet, even with all the bosses and domains we have, having that much leeway and opportunity takes away from the FOMO. And the whole point of this video is to prove that we can change the system and keep it. But as I said, it won't work yet. As more and more domains and bosses come out, 160 resin a day won't be enough. So when the bosses and domains become that plentiful, this idea can still be useful and still cause FOMO, as there will be so much things to do that having 14 condensed resin won't be a problem. So to the future Genshin players, if you still have 160 resin, push this idea. Hoiverse won't care, but maybe, just maybe, they will listen to their community and give some extra resin. And last but not least, banners. Yet another thing I have a video on. Although, when I made it, I was smoking crack and didn't add any sort of fear missing out to the concepts. So, let's go back to those 3 ideas and add FOMO. The first idea in the video was regional banners. Regional banners are 4 banners that only show characters from said region. So there would be a Mondstadt banner, a Leeway banner, an Inazuma banner, and a Sumire banner, each one having characters from that region. Sounds good, right? It has fear missing out, since if you're an F2P or Dolphin, you would have to choose between 5 different banners, missing out on the other 4 characters. But there's a problem. Since there's not much characters, having 5 banners will make characters come out too fast, taking away from that big wait time that helps build FOMO. It also degrades that character's value, as now I know I can get that character anytime. So I don't have to look at leaks for clues on the next rerun. I think the way to solve this is not to make it 5 banners, but a single banner that changes every version update. For example, in 2.8 we have a Mondstadt banner that changes every 2 weeks, rotating different characters from Mondstadt. And in 3.0 we get a Leeway banner. This fixes the problem of degrading the value of characters, and also lets older characters get reruns on a consistent basis. Also, it forces the player to make a decision between the new character or that old character they wanted, making the idea of spending money more likely, therefore adding a higher level of FOMO. The next concept in the video was multiple weapon banners to make it easier to pull on certain weapons. The idea was to make all weapons permanent and have them go into a banner after their initial release. So if there was a new bow, after its initial run it would go into the bow banner, and you would be able to pull for it there. And it would be the same for all weapon types. To be honest, I think this one is fine. No smart person pulls on the weapon banner. And even though this is also a scam, it still might make people actually want to pull on their weapons. But since I'm changing things to make it have more FOMO, I'll make the chart course 5 instead of 2 since it doesn't refresh. There, now we have less of a reason to pull on weapons. And the last concept in the video was a custom banner. As the name says, it's a banner you can make yourself. Now, I was smoking the finest of crack when making this concept, so it is absolute dog shit. But I think with a bit of tweaking, it could be a real thing. The original idea was a banner that lasted double the length of a normal banner, and only came around every 2 to 3 months. During that period, we would be able to change the banner however we wanted. That there is the problem. Being able to change the banner is what makes this idea lose all of its FOMO. As with the idea, characters will become extremely easy to obtain. So, to fix this, all we need to do is get rid of that. So, let's remake it. The new custom banner is now the same length as a normal banner, just to keep it consistent. Is now much more rare, only coming once every 3 to 4 months instead of the 2 to 3 months it originally had. Also, when you choose your 5 and 4 star units, the banner can't be changed. And just to make it so people don't skip the new characters, the past 5 units won't be available in the choosing process. This right here is fear of missing out. Not only is it a rare event that makes you scared to miss, you also have to choose 3 4 stars out of the whole roster and only 1 5 star. This gives the players the opportunity not to wait 3 years on a character they missed, and new players the chance to get their favorite characters when they're still new, while at the same time instilling FOMO into their heads. As I said, all games including Genshin use fear of missing out. There's no denying that. And you can't say Genshin can't use it because that's unfair. But you also can't defend Genshin's flaws using it, because Genshin's use of FOMO is very bad, to the point where even if you disagree with all my ideas, you yourself can make at least 10 good ideas in 5 minutes. The point of this video is not to make amazing ideas that will change Genshin forever. It's to point out Genshin's flaws can be fixed while still keeping whatever gimmick they want. So next time you defend Genshin, just think, can Genshin make this better without removing their gimmick? I'll leave that for you to think. But with that said, I hope you have a productive day.